Hello and welcome to episode 38 of the 1001 Movies podcast, based on the book 1001 Movies You Must See Before You Die. This week we'll be talking about Francis Ford Coppola's 1974 mystery drama, The Conversation.
Kill us if he got the chance. He'd kill us if he got the chance.
Francis Ford Coppola's biggest inspiration were European filmmakers of the 1950s, such as Godard and Truffaut. He never dreamed he would be making commercial successes like the Godfather films. In fact, one of his favorite films was Michelangelo Antonioni's Blow Up, which involved the examination of a photograph as the key to solving a mystery. Coppola riffed on this idea and began writing The Conversation, a story about a mystery that unravels after the protagonist listens to an audio recording over and over again to solve a mystery of his own. Coppola shelved the script because he thought it would never be made. Early in his career, he was writing and directing low-budget horror films like The Terror and Dementia 13, but his Hollywood career was cemented when he won an Oscar for Best Original Screenplay in 1971 for Patton. The Godfather was made shortly thereafter, and a couple of Oscars later, Paramount gave Coppola the creative freedom to make any film he wanted. Plans were underway to film The Godfather Part 2, but Coppola really wanted to dust off his old script of The Conversation and make it into a film before performing the obligatory task of making the sequel to Paramount's cash cow. Paramount acquiesced, and work on The Conversation began. The film is about a private investigator and professional surveillance man, Harry Caul, played by Gene Hackman, who records a private conversation for a mysterious client. As the film progresses, Harry's paranoia about the tape mounts, as it becomes clear that there's more behind this conversation than meets the eye, or rather, the ear. Exactly what his client's objectives are becomes clear, and what they are I will not spoil for you, except that the film ends with Harry's paranoia preventing him from perceiving the difference between fiction and reality. Gene Hackman was fresh off of winning an Oscar for The French Connection, and at 43 years old, he was still quite fit and handsome. Coppola, however, didn't need a dashing leading man, and had Hackman get a mustache, grow his hair out, made him wear glasses, and fit him in clothes that made him look 10 years out of fashion. Harry Caul, after all, was meant to be a man with obvious flaws, as we'll see. Also included in the cast were John Cazale and Robert Duvall, both of which worked for Coppola in The Godfather. A very young and ambitious Harrison Ford was cast as the assistant of Harry's mysterious client, and Ford got very creative with his role, dressing in his own expensive clothes, decorating the set of his office with a bowl of Christmas cookies, and peppering his lines with ad-libs that flesh out his crisp and almost robotic executive. Filmgoers have theorized that Ford wanted his character to come across as a closeted homosexual, but neither the actor nor the director have confirmed this. Much of the film's ambiance lends itself to the sound and the conversation that Harry tapes during the film's opening and plays repeatedly throughout. He fiddles with the quality of the tape, adjusting dials and pushing buttons to make it audible. What are this man and woman talking about? At one point, Harry makes out the words, "He'd kill us if he got the chance." The tape is rewound and the line is played again and again. It sounds like the actor who said the line made repeated takes, as the inflection is different each time, but this is actually the imaginative detailing of Walter Murch and Arthur Rochester, the sound engineers. Coppola probably didn't expect The Conversation to be such a big hit. After all, it was just a pet project compared to the epic The Godfather. Nevertheless, The Conversation went on to be nominated for 3 Academy Awards: Best Picture, Gene Hackman for Best Actor, and Best Sound. Coppola became the big winner that night, winning his first Best Director Oscar for The Godfather Part 2, which also won Best Picture. To this day, The Conversation remains a favorite for both Francis Ford Coppola and Gene Hackman. What did I think of it? The film was made at a time when new Hollywood directors like Coppola were emerging. These were filmmakers who weren't hampered with long-dead censorship guidelines of the Hays Code and didn't have to contend with studios who would sacrifice film for the sake of art to make money. This was the day before big-budget sequels and reboots became so marketable. As a result, the early to mid-70s is one of the most enjoyable eras in Hollywood, and Paramount wasn't mistaken in giving Francis Ford Coppola free rein with this film. It's likely among one of the best thrillers of the 1970s, slowly weaving a web of mystery and paranoia that was yet to be matched. Coppola wanted to emphasize the actual act of eavesdropping, not just the covert recording in the film's opening, but also at key stages throughout. Harry Caul, hailed as one of the best professional eavesdroppers in the West Coast, finds himself the subject of people both known and unknown watching and listening in on him. When we first see him in his apartment, we learn that not only does he have a security alarm, but he has a triple lock on the door. Imagine his frustration that the landlady got in and out of the apartment earlier that day to leave him a birthday present. This frustration and paranoia grows, even in more subtle scenes, such as in a priest's confessional. We can't see the man behind the screen listening in as Harry makes his confessions. Later, as a joke, he's tape recorded during an intimate conversation with a lady by a prankster colleague, and it all comes to a head at the film's conclusion, when Harry tears his apartment apart to find a bug that may or may not be there. It's never really confirmed one way or the other. Harry may be the film's protagonist, but he certainly isn't a hero. He doesn't particularly seem to like his job, and about halfway through we learn that he's haunted by a job in his past that resulted in the death of a young family. Harry is so far removed as a hero, in fact, that he uses the facts he's gone over with a fine-tooth comb so many times, that being the taped conversation, to come to the wrong conclusion, which leads him down a spiraling path of madness and betrayal. The Conversation is not the film audiences usually think of when Francis Ford Coppola is mentioned. That honor, of course, goes to The Godfather, but it is perhaps his most personal, written at a time when his creativity was unfettered and, ironically, released when the Watergate bugging scandal hit the news. The best work in this film comes from Gene Hackman, and I've always been frustrated that he was given an Oscar for The French Connection. After seeing this frustration is doubled as his performance is so much deeper and more subtle. Props should also be given to Coppola's then brother-in-law, David Shire, for composing the haunting and memorable piano score. Coppola was adamant that Shire used just a piano for the film's music, as Coppola always thought the piano sounded lonely when played solo. Shire delivered in spades, and although the music isn't as iconic as many other Hollywood themes written at the time, no doubt you've heard it at one time or another and may recall it without being able to place where or when you first heard it. I highly recommend this film to just about anyone who enjoys watching movies, as it's an understated masterpiece. That's all I have to say about The Conversation. Tune in next week when we discuss yet another film from the early 70s, Federico Fellini's 1973 Amarcord. In the meantime, feel free to email me any comments or questions at 1001moviespodcast@gmail.com. Follow me on Twitter at 1001moviespc and look for the podcast's Facebook page. Until next time, happy viewing.